Moving on over here, we have an American tank, the M4 Sherman, a very iconic tank for the American Army that was used during the Second World War. This one is an A4 variant. It is quite a late version for the M4 Sherman. This tank is equipped with a 75mm cannon, and it was designed to fit this specific gun. You see, during the early war period, the American and the British lacked a tank that would have a powerful gun. So they developed the M4 Sherman over here to have the 75mm cannon to deal with the German Panzers in the desert of North Africa. One of the tanks the British met in North Africa was the German Panzer IV. The Panzer IV was equipped with a short barrel 75mm cannon. This gun have a much larger caliber and were much more effective than any gun that the British have on their tanks. And at this time, the Americans, who haven't joined the war yet, have been observing the battle in North Africa, and they realized that they need a tank to be able to counter the German Panzers. And so the M4 Sherman was created to counter the Panzer IV with its own 75mm cannon. And even though it was quite effective in North Africa, when war progressed to the late war period during 1944 to 45, the tank became obsolete. So the tank would later be upgraded with a newer gun, but as you can see over here, this is an older version. By the end of the war, the Sherman was considered to be quite obsolete compared to newer German tanks. However, it was still considered to be one of the best tanks in the world at that time for many reasons. First, the Sherman was extremely easy to produce, making it ideal for a war like World War II, which was extremely prolonged. And it was also very easy to maintain and repair in the field, and it required little effort to get the tank back on running orders. During the war, the Sherman hull is very versatile. It can be converted into many tanks with the chassis of the tank. And over here is the M7 Priest. The M7 Priest is a self-propelled artillery in American and British service. This tank is equipped with a 105mm artillery gun for infantry support, and it is widely used during the war too. The M7 Priest was created from a need of fully tracked and armored self-propelled artillery. At the same time, the M4 Sherman entered production in the US Army, making the ideal chassis of the tank perfect for the M7. The tank was equipped with a 105mm howitzer, which is perfect for supporting infantry in the front lines. The tank also entered service in the British Army, where it was given the name Priest. Moving on to the next vehicle over here is the M3 Lee. But as you can see, it don't really look like an M3 Lee. And there's a reason for that. This one is actually a recovery vehicle. Recovery vehicles are used for recovering other tanks that was stuck or was destroyed in battle. And this one is an M3 Lee covered into a recovery vehicle. As you can see, the gun on the upper turret was removed for this purpose, but it still retained its original 75mm cannon on the hull. The original purpose of the M3 Lee is that the British and the American needed a tank to counter the German Panzer quickly. The Sherman was still in development, so they find a quick solution to just put a 75mm gun into a hull of a tank, resulting in the Lee. But it also resulted in this tank being extremely cramped. As you can see, it has 6 crew inside one tank, which seems like a very bad idea, but it is a crude way, but also effective. The M3 Lee was created hastily to replace the older armored core of M2 medium tanks. The M2 medium tank that the Americans used before the Second World War was extremely outdated by the time the Second World War started, and the M4 Sherman was still in development by that point. So the M3 Lee was created as a stopgap before the M4 Sherman was available. The M3 Lee is equipped with 2 cannons. The first one is the smaller 37mm gun on the upper turret, and the second gun is the large 75mm cannon on the hull of the tank. This 75mm gun was equipped there in a hurry due to the fact that the Sherman was not available yet, and the American need the firepower to match the newer German tanks. Although it was not very effective, it is a good countermeasure for a short period of time. Overall, the M3 Lee wasn't really a good tank. The service record of this tank showed many mechanical problems, and the crew reported that this tank was extremely cramped. But in the end, the tank did what it was designed to do, to be a stopgap and to give the American and the British the firepower they need before the Sherman arrives. Thank you for watching the third episode of the Thun Panzer Museum review talking about the American tanks. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode because I still have many more to show you. And on the next episode, I'll be talking about the Swiss tank in this museum. However, it might be harder for me to keep a consistent upload for now because my university is about to open. But I will try my best. Thank you.